All right, guys, so the first thing that we're going to do is read the speech together, and then we're going to go through each slide and do the slides. So you're going to work in your group to be doing those. So first, if you would pull this up, so click on the little graduation hat. If you'll click on that graduation hat for me. And if I could get you just to quiet down for a minute so that I can read the speech to you. Speech for graduation. Tonight, we graduate. We've accomplished something big. We should be proud. If you're anything like me, though, you're probably more focused on figuring out what comes next than you are on celebrating what is past. We're young. Sometimes older people forget that when you're our age, you spend much more time thinking about the future than the past. Tonight, we are all thinking about the past and the future. I'm thinking about the past because I'm wondering how a nervous girl with crooked teeth and a bad case of acne who spent every night of freshman year in tears over homework struggles and friendship woes and my parents' divorce could be standing here now as valedictorian. And I am thinking about the future because I'm wondering how I want to be different when I start college or my next job. I'm just thinking about how we can each make a positive impact on the world when we leave this room tonight. You and we can make a huge impact on the world by realizing and acting on one small thing. Thinking about what high school taught me, I realized that I didn't learn the most in class. I learned the most about life during lunch in our crazy cafeteria. You know the place, that deafening room that we all love, always smelling of pizza with Principal Garcia standing near the end of the line, asking us to have our IDs ready. I'm going to tell you a story about that cafeteria, a story that only my closest friends know, a story that I hope will inspire you to take action to make the world a better place. When I first started high school, I was so nervous and so shy. Everyone else seemed so calm and seemed to have so many friends, such happy parents. I really felt so alone. The worst part of the day was lunch. During lunch, the first month or two of school, I sat practically alone always. You know how our cafeteria doesn't have enough tables for every group to sit alone? I was crammed between those of you who are the computer nerds and the space reserved for teachers. No one sat with me for 2 months. I dreaded lunch. I hated lunch. Lunch made me sick every day. I felt like such a loser, and in my mind, I was desperate and sad. Then I learned something that changed my life forever. Do you remember when we did that activity in English class freshman year where we had to share something we didn't like about our day and make a plan to improve it? Ben and Isabel G were in my group. They said that I could tell this story, okay? So they were in my group and they were so popular. I had always been jealous of them. Well, that day I learned something powerful that changed my life about Ben and Isabel. Isabel told me how she hated lunch because the cafeteria was so noisy. She said she was always afraid that she would have to sit alone and would intentionally pick a crowd of friends to walk to lunch with so that couldn't happen. Then Ben told me how one day his older brother, who he always sat with at lunch, was out sick. Ben had to sit alone that day. And he said that it was so weird and awkward that he skipped school for 2 days until his brother was better and was able to come back. Ben and Isabel shared, and I just sat there quietly thinking about how they felt the same as I did and how they made a plan to make lunch enjoyable and to not have to sit alone. I realized that I am not alone. We are all the same. Ben, Isabel, myself, each of you, everyone else is just like me. We all want to sit with someone at lunch. We all dread sitting alone. After I heard the stories that Ben and Isabel shared, I was determined to change my own situation. You all know what happened after that. I just became that person who started talking to more people, asking people to sit with me for lunch and asking others to work in my group. I started to always make it a point to talk to the new people who came to our class, and my life slowly started to change. As we step into the future together, I hope you will carry this with you, this one important lesson from high school. You and I, all of us, we are more alike than different. We all want someone to sit with at lunch. And all we need to do to make our world a better place and ourselves happier is ask others to sit and walk with us on this journey of life. So I'm asking you now, will you go on this journey with me with the knowledge that deep down we are all the same? That's how we can make the world a better place, by realizing that others are really just like us. All right, so that is our speech. Now let's go look at our slide deck. The first slide has the first paragraph, and I need you as a group to decide which one of these pictures is the audience. Who is she actually talking to? And then I need you to use the highlight bars to find text evidence to support that. I'm gonna give you just a second, and then I'm gonna call on y'all. Go ahead and talk about it.
It's the student.
All right, so let's talk about what y'all put. Jake, can your group tell me what y'all chose as the audience?
We chose the students because I mean you can always tell she's talking to students.
Okay, so you think she's talking to students. Now tell me what text evidence do you have to support that?
We put tonight we graduate, and then we also put we're young.
Okay, so tonight we graduate. Why is that showing you that she's talking to the group of students?
Because everybody else that like if it's parents or something, they've already graduated, and then all the students they're just now graduating.
Okay,
She said
perfect.
tonight.
So she's talking to the people that are graduating because she's saying we are graduating. Good. What was your other text evidence?
We're young.
Okay, yeah, we are young. So obviously the young group of people is who she is going to be talking about. So you could highlight we are young right there. Okay. Did anybody have anything different picked? Awesome. I know y'all are all singing the We Are Young song.
Oh yeah.
All right, so the next one that you're gonna look at, guys, I'm telling you that the claim of this speech, it's an implied claim. She doesn't come out and say this exact thing, but she says, or she's thinking that realizing how similar we are can help make a positive impact on people. So I want you to go back and I want you to look in the article and find some text evidence that supports that if we all realize that we are similar, that we can have a positive impact on people. So take a minute and look at that now. All right, guys, so I know that you're not all finished, but talk to me about some of the things that you did find. Avery, what did y'all find?
We all went to lunch to sit up with us on lunch. We all enjoyed sitting on lunch.
Okay, yeah, because that shows that you all have that in common for sure. Will?
Quietly thinking about how they felt the same as I did.
Yes, yeah, I have that on mine too. That is a good one.
No.
Never
Was
mind.
that what you had? Did anybody have something different, Billy?
You and I, all of us, we are born alike and different.
Good, yeah, I have that on mine too. Colin.
I made a plan to make lunch enjoyable and not have to sit alone.
Okay, good, yeah. So I have a couple more up here. Guys, please don't make me talk over you. There were several more, and then I also really liked her call to action at the end. Will you go on this journey with me with the knowledge that deep down we are all the same, and then realizing the others are really just like us. Those are just a couple that she put in there. You could also just put kind of her whole anecdote about her friends at lunch and how she, realized that they all were going through the same thing. Yes, sir?
Was that for the entire time?
No, it wasn't up there the whole time. You're good. All right. So now we're looking at the next slide. We're looking for literary devices. And the literary device that we're focusing on is repetition. So I don't want you to say, well, she says the word I a lot. Okay, I want you to look for intentional repetition and kind of why you think that that's something that she does. So you're using the highlight bars and then you're going to write for me why you feel like she chose that repetition. So I'm going to give you just a minute to do that now. All right, guys, talk to me about the intentional repetition here. What did you think it was, Avery?
I said lunch.
Yeah, it was. Specifically,
The last one.
yes, those last lines. I dreaded lunch. I hated lunch. Lunch made me sick every day. And she is using that repetition of lunch to really emphasize how uncomfortable lunch made her. Lunch is kind of the driving force, and it starts out being this really terrible thing, but then it comes together, and she kind of uses it because it's what kind of unites them all. Good. All right, so let's look at the next one. I am telling you that the tone of the speech is casual and sincere. So when I say casual, I mean like it's not formal. She's talking to a group of her friends, so she's talking to them the same way that she would, usually talk to a group of friends. So I need you to first define the words casual and sincere, because you can't give me good text evidence if you don't know what those words mean, right? So then the next thing that you're gonna do is find me text evidence from the speech that supports that the tone is casual and sincere. Okay, so I'm gonna give you just a minute to do that. Y'all might kind of split up the work and go. All right, guys. All right, can somebody talk to me about casual and sincere? What does it mean if you are casual? Yes, sir?
Relaxed and unconcerned.
Yeah, exactly what I have up here. So relaxed, unconcerned, informal. So the fact that she is speaking to her peers, like a group of like her classmates, it's not this big formal presentation. She talks to them the way that you would talk to your friends, right? What about sincere? What does sincere mean? Jaylee?
Maybe like meaningful or heartfelt.
Yeah, absolutely. So meaningful, heartfelt, genuine, that it's truly from the heart, right? Who can talk to me about some of the text that you might have chosen that you feel like was text that shows that she's casual, but also sincere? Who came up with an example for me?
I got one.
Okay, what did you put, Noah?
So it says, always smelling of pizza, and Principal Garcia standing near the end of the line asking for your IDs to be ready.
Yeah, good. Did you feel like that was casual or sincere?
It was casual because she wasn't like, you wouldn't know who Principal Garcia is, and you wouldn't know their cafeteria unless you knew her, so.
Right, and it was almost kind of like an inside joke, like between her and the other people that were at her school. Absolutely, that's a really good example. What else would be a good example for casual and sincere? Anybody? One of the ones that I put when she's talking about Ben and Isabel, she said, Ben and Isabel were in my group. They said that I could tell this story, okay? Like, so it was this little side note like you would do if you were just having a regular conversation. I felt that like that was really casual. I also felt like when she said, I was nervous, I was shy, I felt like a loser, I felt like I was sad, I felt like I was desperate. I mean, that's a really sincere, honest thing to say. Like, you wouldn't just tell that kind of emotional story to somebody that you didn't care about or you didn't really want them to get this heartfelt message. So she's really putting herself out there. So it is pretty sincere. Did anybody have another example? Anybody? No? Okay, cool. I did have the last example. I hope you will carry this one important lesson from high school. You and I, all of us, we are more alike than different. I feel like that was really sincere as well. All right, let's move on to the next one, friends. All right, so the next one is asking you to identify the call to action. We looked at call to action the other day on, I think it was our Native American speech. What is a call to action? Josh?
It's like getting them to do something.
Yeah, so like I've given you all my reasons. Now that my speech is over. I want you to actually get up and go do something. If I was running for president, I would tell you all the reasons that you should vote for me. And then at the end of my speech, I would say, okay, now get out and vote for me. And that would be my call to action, where I'm actually asking you to do something. So I want you and your group to look at the end of her speech and identify her call to action. You're gonna highlight that for me now. So who can tell me what you selected for your call to action, Caitlin?
I can see us.
Yes, good. So I'm asking you now, will you go on this journey with me with the knowledge that deep down we are all the same? That's how we make the world a better place, by realizing that others are really just like us. That is her call to action. She's asking everybody to go on the journey with her, to include others. So there we go. All right, so author's purpose. I want you to look at, let me pull this one up. Look at what you think that the author's purpose could be. Are we trying to impress, demand, encourage, or inform? And then actually form a full sentence. The speaker's purpose in giving this speech was to demand that the audience, do something. What is she really asking for? So choose which verb and then incorporate it into a statement for me. Okay, do that for me now. All right, guys, looking at the words up there on the arrows, which one did you choose as the author's purpose? Adriel, which arrow did you choose? Encourage, yay, encourage was the purpose. It was. So what are we trying to encourage our audience to do? Jakey? Guys, shh.
To make a change.
What kind of change?
Lunch.
Okay. So he says encourage them to make a change. Caitlin, what did you say? Yeah. No, that's a really good one. I put the speaker's purpose in giving this speech was to encourage her peers to make a lasting impact on the world by realizing that deep down, people have more in common than not. Remember, she talks about understanding that we're all the same. All right, so on the next slide, I'm not sure if we're gonna have time to completely finish.
We can do it.
But on this next slide, you are watching this little video about style and voice, because we're gonna be looking at really what makes an author's writing unique, kind of putting yourself into it. So I know that style and voice can be something hard to interpret. So I'm gonna give you a minute to watch the video and then answer the questions accordingly.
Wait, are you playing it?
All right, guys, so now that y'all have watched the video, I've got the answers already up here. So according to the video, what is voice? And in the video, it talked about it's the writer's personality coming through in their own writing. So the tone, how formal they are, meaning like, is it like you're giving this like official presentation to a bunch of really fancy official people, or is it really casual? You're just kind of talking to a friend. Your purpose, your audience. Remember, you always want to really consider your audience. That's going to help set the tone and that formality level. And then style. So style is kind of the individual flair that you put on your writing. So a few questions that you can ask when you're trying to identify a voice. What is the purpose? Who is the intended audience? What is the formality? What is the tone? And what kind of emotions are being used? So like what pathos do you see in there? So in our speech, how does the speaker in the graduation speech help to create her own unique voice? So she uses I and you to make her writing really relatable. It's almost like this inside story that she is really connecting with her audience by making it seem like, you know, they all have that in common and they understand each other. And then her use of personal experiences. So she's really vulnerable and she really opens up to her audience. So, you know, that's kind of helps it to be really sincere. And then, of course, she has those types of experiences and she's relating to her audience as well. You know, if she and her friends experienced those similar things, then she knows that the people in her audience did too. So if you don't have all your answers from today filled out, please go back in the video, make sure that you have everything filled out, make sure that this is submitted. These answers and, you know, kind of how we just went through the whole speech, that's going to really help you on your post-pi later this week. So make sure that you understand everything. And if you are having any issues, let me know and I will help you out. All right, thanks for listening, guys. Have a good night.